Welcome back. Now we're going to talk about the Quest 2. First off, with the Quest 2, what's the first, greatest, amazingest thing about this headset? It's affordable. Anyone, nearly anyone, can afford one of these damn things. You can get this. You can get into VR right away with this. It's cheap. With our crushing Canadian taxes and worthless peso dollar, this was only $448 from Best Buy. That's like that's more than $1,000 cheaper than the index. Yikes. So, kind of, it's almost impossible to give this a bad review, given that price point. But then there's the fact that this is actually a pretty good headset. Yeah, it's got flaws. Plenty of them, and you're going to hear about them. But for that price, how pissy could you be about it, right? Like if you paid $1,000 for it, I'd be pretty salty about some of the shortcomings. But for what I paid for it, I'm not. I feel pretty good about this. This is cheap enough you can just have one as a backup. This is cheap enough that if it breaks, you're just like, that's pissy. And then you just get another, which is actually what I did. I'll be going into that in a bit. This is obviously not the stock head strap. Oh, that stock head strap isn't very good. Actually, you know what? Let's go to it now. This. Look at this fucking thing. Look at this. What the fuck was this? What were they thinking? It's so inept. This is the stock default head strap has the nickname of the jock strap. This is not well liked. I stuck with this longer than I thought I would because it does hold it onto your head and it's light. But it is not very comfortable. It doesn't hold it securely to your head. It comes loose as you're moving around. It's kind of annoying to wear because you really have to be careful to make sure that all the weight of the device is held on by this top strap. It's just not good. If you are getting a Quest, definitely get a replacement head strap first thing. But not from Oculus. No, 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 no. Their head straps are shit. They fucking break. Not for everybody, but it is a constant recurring problem with the Elite head straps, is that they fucking break. What were they fucking thinking? They've never fixed or addressed it in any meaningful way. There's been people who have had to RMA their fucking Elite straps 4 or 5 times. That's ridiculous. It's unacceptable. What the fuck were they thinking? What are they thinking? They've never addressed that. However, that doesn't really fucking matter because you can get these head straps fucking anywhere. This is a cheap one from Zero. It was like $40 or something. Kiwi Design has an even nicer one for like 60-ish. That's in Canadian prices, by the way. And it's really nice with lots of extra padding. This one's fine. It's got enough padding. It's reasonably durable. It's reasonably customizable. This little wheel, jog wheel to adjust it, works perfectly well. It's reasonably comfortable. Yeah. Comfort is where this headset's a bit mediocre, though. It's not bad because this is light. 503 grams. That's a lot lighter than an index, and if you've ever switched between them, you would notice the weight right away switching to one of these. This is a light and handy headset to wear. This makes it really good for games where you're physically active. And there's more on that because of the magic of Airlink, which is some kind of sorcery. It's good sorcery. That's white magic. Now, with a good head strap, the comfort level goes up a lot. You can get external batteries, because this is obviously battery powered if it's wireless, right? Dodoy. If that's a problem, like you get a good couple of hours. I've had it run out, but not often. And you can solve that for not very much money by getting a head strap. There's a whole bunch of options for that. I've never really needed it. After a couple hours of gaming, I'm kind of tuckered out. I'm in my 40s. Give me a break. Anyway, yeah, get an Elite head, get a replacement Elite head strap, but not from Quest. This Zero is fine. Definitely the Kiwi Design seems to be the way to go. And then there's the Halo straps by Bobo VR that seem to be popular with some users. Some users love Halos, some don't. You have options. You have tons of options for accessories for this, which is a cool thing. Because there's in some ways kind of a need to accessorize this, which is unfortunate in a way, but you paid so little for it. How pissy could you be? The audio is very average. Some people say it's bad. I don't think it's bad. I think it's fine, but it's just not amazing, right? If you're comparing it to the Index, you're like, ugh. But unless you're like a big audiophile person, I think you're actually okay with these. These speakers look like shit, but they sound okay. It's okay. If you're like a huge audio person, you're gonna want to get some kind of replacement. I'm the farthest thing in the world from an audiophile. I don't even hear that good, to be honest with you. So it's just fine. I hear things. I enjoy the music and sound effects. I'm reasonably immersed. I think it's okay. But if it isn't okay for you, no problem. There's tons of options, none of which are good at what comes with the Index, though. I'm not going to talk too much about the Facebook thing, because if you have a problem with Facebook to the point where you're willing to pay like an extra $1,000 to avoid them, then do it. Get an Index. If you're like, well, you know what though? It's so cheap. And they are getting rid of that Facebook requirement. You know, they are. There's always going to be a login for everything, right? Whether it's Steam or Oculus, you're not going to get away with that. It is what it is. I personally don't like it, but for the price I like it. I don't fucking care. I just have a blank, mostly blank Facebook profile that I just never use. I never use it for anything but this. So it's fine. I'm not going to... I enjoy spicy memes, but I don't go to Facebook for them, and you shouldn't either. There are way better places for spicy memes than Facebook. If you have interesting or controversial political opinions, Facebook is not the place, you fucking dummies. Of course your account's gonna get banned. That's because you're a retard. If you be a retard, there's consequences to it. You're not a retard because you might enjoy spicy memes or have controversial political opinions. I'm sure you have your reasons. Everyone's fine here on James VR. That's a fact. But you are a retard if you go to somebody else's sandbox and get pissed off when they kick your ass for breaking the rules. It's their sandbox. Don't do that. Just behave yourself and you're not going to get into any problems. Or if it really bothers you, get one of these other headsets. They're more expensive, but that's the world we live in. It's just part of reality. The most awesome killer feature of this headset is Airlink. And I'm going to briefly talk about something. There's another headset that somebody said something that actually pissed me off. It was Decagear. What is it? Or Kurzman, whatever his fucking name is. The Decagear guy. He's like, oh, Facebook can flip a switch and turn off your PCVR capabilities at any moment. Buy Decagear. Dude, I kind of want to buy Decagear back when the price point was compelling. And when it comes out, I'll still look at it, okay? Facebook is like... Meta is not going to terminate your PCVR capabilities. All the work they just went into making it work so well on Airlink, you think they're just going to fucking turn it off? For their their old like Rift store? Do you think they did that for that? They're not even producing Rift games anymore. Lone Echo 2 is the last one. You think they did all that work for Lone Echo 2? No, that's stupid. It makes no sense. That was fear-mongering FUD. Shame on that guy. That's bullshit. Your PCVR is perfectly safe. Fuck's sakes, I shouldn't have to say that. And the thing is, that bullshit meme worked on people. You're like, oh no, evil Meta is gonna take away our PCVR. I'm only able to use a standalone. Why the fuck would they do that? That makes no sense. It's stupid. Fuck off. Alright, now, let's go back to Airlink. I love Airlink. Airlink is so good. Yes, you pay for it big time in visual quality. And we're going to talk about visual quality in a little bit. But there's nothing like just having no wires at all. Again, especially for games where you're physically active, moving around a lot. Enemies like to circle you. Blade and Sorcery Legendary Tales, right? Where you're moving around, ducking and weaving. Or even... After the Fall, which really requires you to actually physically duck and weave. Not having a fucking cable is amazing. It is really freeing to play with Airlink. I love Airlink. Despite its flaws, I love Airlink. It is an amazing feature, and it is so amazing. Obviously, all the next generation headsets are going to have wireless capability. Which is to say, when I say next generation, I'm talking about the Deckard or the Pimax 12K Reality. Those are going to have wireless. In some cases, exceptionally advanced wireless. Yeah, Airlink was so good it raised the bar and said in future we're going to have to get rid of the fucking cables. Or at least have the option to not have them. Cool. Airlink's amazing. And of course, virtual desktop as well. I'm not going to sort of include that because you may want it or not. I'll say virtual desktop is really great for media consumption. I find Airlink works just fine for games. Some people say virtual desktop is better. I didn't actually find that to be the case. I'm running V33. V34 does not improve the quality of Airlink, though it does improve connecting to it. And yeah, the latest virtual desktop for me didn't look actually better, in some cases worse. But your mileage may vary. Your settings may vary and so on. It's up to you. I still like virtual desktop for watching videos and movies and shit like that in VR. Really good. And this is a really good headset for watching stuff like that because it's wireless. You can sit there with your bag of chips and your greasy colas and not worry about the cables tangling. You can move around in your lazy boy, in your recliner, and just chill. This is neat for that. Better than the cable systems because your cable system's probably close to your computer, but your recliner might not be. Well, with this, who gives a shit? Pretty cool. Ooh, I gotta tell you though, there's some warts on this. None of them are bad enough to offset the fact that this is so cheap. That no wonder this is the most dominant headset. There's no question. Because you can afford to buy one. The reason I have all these headsets is because I have no life. Yeah. And I don't want one because I want the headsets. But anyway, some things about this that are annoying. This has a really nice display that you can never take advantage of. So yeah, the displays on this actually quite a bit nicer than the ones on the Quest 2. Glare is really not an issue on these. I think screen door effect is really not an issue on the Index. But if for some reason you thought it was, it's gone here. But there's issues. First off, the IPD settings are not nearly good enough. You get 3 settings. The distance to your eyes are only adjustable by inserting the glasses spacer or not. You know, you can get thinner facial interfaces from someplace like VR Cover. Those are very popular with Questers. But I wear glasses. That's not helpful to me. The IPD settings are probably the biggest bitchy thing, and you can put these in between, but I always find they sort of jank out. Other people have not had that issue. I have. However, I'm close enough that it hasn't been a serious issue for me, but it is for other people. That said, you know, it was cheap, right? It was cheap. You didn't pay much for it. Yeah. Now, Buzz is nice. Not what I would call super sharp resolution. Obviously, their Verb is better, and don't even get me started on the AKX being better. But they're decent. They're good. They're respectable, right? And you're not going to have too much trouble driving these displays. They're really not that much higher than the Index. They're higher enough that that theoretically you could appreciate that difference. Unfortunately, in practicality here in the real world, there's no way you can ever really enjoy the nice high resolution on these. No way. In standalone mode, you're playing with mobile phone graphics, so that's really not taking advantage of this, right? And you're probably only getting 72 hertz on that too. That's not as bad as it sounds, but the fact that this actually does up to 120 is kind of amazing. 120 is good. That's good. That's good. That's what I run my Index at. 120 is good. And you can sort of use that with this. And I say sort of because there's no way to take advantage of those nice high pixels. There's no way. Because your options are a USB 3 cable or Airlink. Neither of which provide anywhere near enough bandwidth to drive these great displays. That sucks. It really does. This needed a display port. That USB is bullshit. You will see that compression, and there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it, because, look, let's just run the numbers real quick. Index has DisplayPort 1.2. That's 17 gigabits of bandwidth. That's a lot. 8KX or anything with DisplayPort 1.4, that's like 32 or 36 something. It's over 30 gigabits of bandwidth. That's a fuck ton. Unless, of course, you need to drive 4K displays. Then it's actually could be better. The compression completely annihilates any sharpness you're going to get from those great pixels. They're gone. They're blurred out in a soup of compression. The color quality is going to be lost in there. There's a lot of stuff that just goes away with compression. It works way better than you would think. Because you remember, USB 3 is only a couple gigs. Airlink is going to be one at the most, but that's not what you're running at. You know, like, that's kind of a shame that they didn't need to put that display in, honestly. And it's a bummer that, you know, I've heard people saying, oh, but these are higher resolution than the Index. Yes, but the Index unquestionably looks better. Unquestionably looks better, even though it's so much lower res. Because it's actually using those displays. Those are legit pixels. These are not legit pixels because they're blurred out in compression. Does that mean it looks bad? Nope. These look good. It looks good. That is a bummer that this doesn't have a display port though. Why the fuck not? What were they thinking? Why would you put on these nice, moderately high resolution displays? They're good displays. They're not really what I'd call high res, but I'd call them respectable res. They put them on and then didn't give you a way to use them. What were they fucking thinking? Why just USB? Like, the Rift series, like, would a DisplayPort been that big a deal, guys? Would it? I don't think so. But they didn't. And you can conspiracy theory, oh, they wanted you to play it standalone. But the standalone's not going to take advantage of this. Just, you have the reduced models, the reduced textures, the reduced graphics. Who cares? Right? Now, the fact that this works standalone is great if you are poor and cannot afford a PC. Or perhaps I should say, if you are not rich and cannot afford a good PC. That's probably more accurate. Yeah. Prices these days, let me tell you. Well, standalone works way better than you'd think and has a lot of selection of actually pretty great games. The fact that there's exclusives to it's a fucking irritating thing. That's bullshit. But that's nothing you can default the device with, so yeah. This works great for Steam VR and PC gaming though. It does. This is a good headset. This is a really good headset. For its price, it's outrageously good. And that's why it's so common. It's to be ubiquitous. You can go past the sort of mediocre audio because, hey, you can fix it. Sure, the jock strap's a fucking joke, but hey, you can fix it. If you want a better cover, it's easy to get. There's tons of options. There's so many options for these. Yeah. I really like the Guardian is a lot more advanced than the sort of play space you get in Steam VR. It is a lot more advanced, especially in the V34 update. You can turn these features on and off. Hand tracking, I'm going to be honest, I don't give a shit about it. I know it's sort of a fad for AR stuff. I don't care. I want to play games, not, you know. Still, it's kind of neat. I could see it, but I think it's a gimmick so far. With where it's gone, it's a gimmick. I don't care about it. Visually, this is definitely a downgrade from the Index, though. Some people say otherwise, but they're kidding. They're not being serious. There's no way. I'm sorry, there's no way, guys. The compression just steals, it robs you of those good screens, okay? If you don't believe me, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. But math is what it is, compression is what it is, bandwidth is what it is. There's no getting around it. It is shocking how well this works, though. Now, this will go down to 72 hertz, which is what most of your standalone games are going to be running at, by the way. You think it's 120 because you enabled it in the options? No. Nope. Probably 72. 72 all the way up to a fairly glorious 120. 120 is good. That's very respectable. That's better than average. Yeah, not many headsets even match that, let alone beat it. HKX tops out at 110. Sometimes that number floats to 114, but it's 110 right now, which is still good. That's still very good. But 120 is better. The Index is 144. The 5K Super does something ridiculous potentially, but 120 is solid. The bitches, though, right? If you're saying, oh no, it's so good, it's 120. Yes, but your compression goes up by quite a huge amount. You're adding 30 more frames per second that compression now has to deal with. You don't think there's a quality loss to that? Yes, there is, my lads. Yes, there fucking is. And it's big. It's a lot. That is a huge increase in compression and a very significant drop in quality. No bullshit about that. Over Airlink, I just keep it in 90. 90 seems like the sweet spot. When I do 120 over Airlink, I find it looks really soupy pretty quickly. So I'll keep it at 90 is sort of my impression. If you're running the cable, I think you can get away with 120 better. That is a reality of it. And 90 is okay. 90 is fine. 90 is standard, right? It's standard. Some people call it buttery smooth 90. Yeah, it is, but you know, my index does 144. It's 120. But it only sort of does 120, right? And really only in like really simple graphics games are you going to do 120 on this thing, and the compression becomes nasty at 120. It's mostly a marketing gimmick, unfortunately, in my opinion. Mostly, not always. And you know what? As an option, it doesn't hurt. And hey, that's a nice thing about it. It's there, it's real. The compression is just not an issue for you, because again, a lot of that's subjective. Then, you know, you have 120, and hey, that's pretty fucking good. Very fucking good. This is a really good headset, and it's unbelievably good for its price. Here's the other problem with the Quest 2, is the FOV is pretty shitty. It is pretty shitty. It's not as shitty as the Vario Aero, but it's shitty. So yeah, my values were 89 horizontal and 83 vertical. Ew. That is narrow. Ooh, is that narrow though? And I gotta say, you do notice. Like with the index, it isn't super obvious. It's there, it's always there, right? Unless you're using an AKX. But that is probably, in my opinion, the biggest downside. I can up the compression because for Airlink, it's worth it. You know, not for every game. Every game, a lot of games, if you just sit at your computer or something, hey, plug in the cable. You know what? Maybe you can try 120 hertz and maybe it'll be fine. But that FOB is bad. Yeah. And especially if you come from, you know, a higher FOV headset, you got this thing, you're going to be like, yeah. But you kind of get used to it. I find it mostly annoying. Again, the two games that always sort of have everything that sort of pisses me off is like Blade and Sorcerer Legendary Tales again, where guys circle around you and I have to swivel my head around the whole time. I find that annoying. Because in real life, these guys would be within my peripheral. With this, you have to really swing your head around a lot more. And that's annoying. And it is a pretty significant hit to your immersion. So there's that. That is, in my opinion, the biggest downside of this. Other people disagree, but I have access to high FOV devices. And I'll tell you, it can be a little claustrophobic in here. Yeah. Is it enough to make it a bad headset? No fucking way. Not for this price tag. No way. For this price tag, that's fine. The controllers. I don't like them. I know. Okay. I've improved these significantly. I bought some extra grips. These are the AMVR grips, and I highly recommend them. They were cheap. I think I don't remember how much I paid. It was very little, and they're so worth it because now I can let go of it just like I'm using my index knuckles. That alone is massive in my opinion. And they're comfortable. They're nice, you know, and they were not expensive. The AMVR grips for these I highly recommend. I'm sure there's alternatives. I know there's alternatives, but I gotta say the little cheap AMVR ones have met my expectations across the board. But there's issues I have with these. The biggest being, I fucking hate that. I fucking hate it. I fucking hate the grip button. It's a button. And it's kind of weird to use. Look, you reach out to grab something, you press your middle finger? Right? Like, you could, like, right? And sort of grab it, but it's not the same because it's raised up on that middle finger, and I find you don't treat it like that, even though you technically can because you can float with this now, right? But there's no getting around the fact that it feels like you're pushing a button and not grabbing something. There's just no two ways around it. This is not an immersive design for that. That said, I've had really not many tracking issues. Once in a rare while, one of my hands kind of floats off and you panic and you wave your arm around, then it comes back. I consider the tracking on the Quest 2 and these controllers to be perfectly good. Are they as good as base station tracking? Well, no, of course not. But I rarely actually had problems with it. You know, it's only sort of how often do you really go sticking your hand behind your back? Not that often, right? That's fine. Is it as good? No. Is it a problem? No. No. Really nice thing, and actually just about the Quest in general, is it's unbelievably durable. Thrill Seeker's done tests on this. He's put it in a fucking dryer and let it bounce around. It was fine. You put your index or your 8KX in the dryer, you're getting parts. You're not getting a headset back. But with the Quest, you can. Don't abuse your electronics, dudes. They're expensive. Don't do it. But if you have a Quest 2 and you feel like abusing electronics, I don't know why you do that, but it's an option for you. The joystick's good. The buttons are good. They were smart enough. X and Y. Pretty cool, right? That's a good idea. The trigger is alright, but it doesn't have a click. Now that's purely preference. That's purely subjective. I like there to be a little click. These are just sort of mushy all the way down. It's fine. That said, I've never been too bothered by it. It's just a preference thing. They're good. They're durable. They're rugged as the rest of it. I've seen these break for other people, but you really have to abuse the shit out of these to break them. Definitely a lot more rugged than the Knuckles. The Knuckles I don't think are fragile exactly, but except for the trigger. The trigger on the Knuckles is fragile. And these, nah, you can whip these all over the room. You can be like, well, I'm done gaming, and just fucking huck it. All of it. You can just grab your headset, just whip it across the room, let it smash against the wall. It'll be fine. Your head strap might not be so, but the Quest 2 will be. This doesn't have a touchpad or anything, and it's unfortunate because the touchpad's actually a nice feature, but because these don't have a touchpad, no game uses the touchpad, right? Because these are what most people are gaming with, and the Knuckles aren't common enough for developers to implement features for those touchpads. Not commonly anyway. It's actually a bummer. But oh well, that's not really a fault of these. They're doing what they're supposed to do. Personally, I like having the extra flexibility because that touchpad can also work as a button. Right? It works just fine as something you can touch. The menu button's a little better. They're always a bit awkward, those menu buttons, and I think that's intentional so you don't accidentally hit it. The joystick's good. I've never had any issues with it, and as far as I know, it doesn't suffer from drift issues like the Knuckles do. Although I've had no drift issues with mine either. Nonetheless, it doesn't seem to be a common issue. I've seen the rings break, but again, I don't know, they were just smashing them against something or using it to hammer a nail or something. Like, oh, I can't find my hammer. I'll just, like, okay. And you know what? It'd probably work for a good couple of nails, like, or a small cabinet, you know what? But yeah, for your house, no, just get a regular hammer. These are okay, but they're not amazing. Does Gun Nut James have a problem with these, like she did at the index? Yes. So here, that's actually not bad, because that is how you would hold an automatic pistol. Pretty close. That's an improvement over the index. Right there. Big deal. Because you can actually stabilize it now. Right? With the index, it's so awkward to do that. Or the knuckles, really, I should say. However, I do still have an issue. Here's the fun thing. I feel like anyone who isn't a gun nut is going to be like, what? Okay, the way you hold like an automatic, and the way I also hold revolvers, like that. Thumbs parallel side under the slide. And on the revolver, you can technically cross your thumbs, and you cannot really do that on any of these. But I actually tend not to shoot revolvers like that anyway. It can hit your webbing on some revolvers. If this is news to you, yeah, well, James isn't a stereotype. This ring gets in the way of my thumb. I know you're thinking, no, that's unbelievably nitpicky. But it bothers me. And if you're someone who actually shoots a lot of guns or just a bit of a person who enjoys hanging out at the range, plinking away, the fact that it kind of gets in the way, you have to like pull your thumb out and then off to the side, I find that annoying. I know you're saying there's no way she's this bitchy, but dudes, it does bother me. You know what? None of these are perfect for handling guns. And what the fuck else am I doing in VR? I'm stabbing and I'm shooting. Didn't they have one person with a firearms license on their development teams to say, hey, actually, this is kind of annoying. I can't hold my handgun correctly. But my biggest issue with these is that shitty grip button. I really dislike that. These aren't charged with an internal battery. These are charged with like, what is it, a double A or something? I don't actually think of that as a significant problem, honestly. You just put them in, they last a really, really long time, and kind of who cares? They probably add a bit of weight, like a Li-ion battery might be better, but these aren't heavy, so who cares? So the Quest 2, I gotta say its price point, you can't fault its faults, right? Like it offers you so much great functionality. Wireless VR gaming feels like magic after coming from like an Index with its fuck shit cable. Even though you lose a lot of graphical quality going to Airlink, you gain so much freedom and mobility. It's so nice to just swing wildly, not worry and dance around as much as you want without worrying about whacking a cable. And even if you have a roof mounted pulley system like I do, that's not anywhere near as good as not having cables. Not even close, guys. Not even close. If you're thinking to yourself, oh, it's almost as good, no, it isn't. No, no, it's not. And there's a lot of games that are really annoying to play. Well, let's take Legendary Tales again. The game that's annoying to play. It has these flying bats. While fighting bats with my Index, I ended up swatting my cable system. That's bad. Or say Beanstalker. That's a super fun game. I love Beanstalker. But you're climbing upward. And you're swinging upward. So your head, like your pulley system above you, is a very good chance you're going to whack it as you're playing that. However, if you have Airlink, not a concern for you. You can swing and duck and weave and do whatever the fuck you want. It's going to be just fine as long as you stay in your play area. And again, its Guardian is a lot more advanced. It's easier to set up, less of a pain in the ass. It does lose it once in a while for some inexplicable reason, but it only takes a few seconds to put back. Switching between like seated mode and then standing mode is fairly painless. It's really good, and the new versions will even warn you if one of your pets or kids wanders into the area. It's really advanced and in a whole league of its own compared to the very basic bare bones functionality you get just from SteamVR. This is a good headset. Despite the shitty FOV, the compression on the graphics, I just find it really hard to fault this headset. And for that price, dude, that's why it's so common. Despite the fact that nobody likes Meta, at this price point, how bitchy can you be about it? It's so cheap and it's so good. All those flaws, you're just like, yeah, but it's $1,000 extra to fix that. Is it worth it? Like, is it worth $1,000 from you to go to 89 FOV to 108? That's quite a bit larger. Is it $1,000 larger? That's up to you. I gotta say, the Quest 2 is fantastic at that price. If it was $800, I would probably be a lot more salty about the things like the FOV and so on. But at 400, 300 USD, I'm not. What can I say? If you're getting into VR, Quest is what you should get most of the time. It's going to be between the Quest and the Index and maybe the Reverb. Again, I can't speak authority on the Reverb. It looks compelling, and I wish I had one to sort of, if only to finish up and perfect this whole review. I would love to have done that next, but I can't even get a 2.1. So the Quest 2 is just so good for what you're paying. I feel like if only as like a starter device, the the fact that if you really are really tight on a budget but still want awesome gaming, the mobile graphics look a lot better than you'd think. Yeah, they're nothing compared to what your PC can output. If you have a good one, that is, right? If you have a nice high end, let's say 3060 Ti or above, roughly, your mileage may vary. I have a 3070. I could use more power, there's no question about it. In fact, if depending on the games you play, if you have a 3090, you could be like, I wish I had faster than a 3090. Is there a 3095? Like, hate to think how much that would cost. But right now, with the way prices are with PC hardware, the Quest 2 is just so damn compelling. Yeah, I wouldn't rate it above an Index, but it's a good headset. And for its price, if that's your budget, then you go get a Quest 2, you're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love VR in a Quest 2. And it's easy to set up. The Guardian is really good. They take really good care of you to avoid you from smashing your potted plants and hitting your cats. Yeah, it's good. It's actually great for consuming media because you get to do so anywhere in your house, right? You can lay in bed and watch a movie. You're not going to do that with your Index. This is a good headset. If there are flaws and shortcomings for its price point and it's wireless, so what? Anyway, that's my review of the Quest 2. It's just a great headset at an amazing price. Hi guys, okay, this is after I was editing the video and I remembered a couple extra points about Quest 2 stuff. A negative here is that their updates are really random. When you get them, you get them. And if you want one, kind of too bad. They're on their own schedule and that's annoying. There are people often with really outdated versions of their Quest. So you can fix that. You can sideload the updates. The Quest 2 subreddit's a good place to get the firmware files, but it's fairly technical. You have to convert over to dev mode, and then it'll enable you to do sideloading. It's really not hard. If you've ever changed the firmware or sideloaded something on your Android phone, it's the exact same procedure, except entering dev mode is weird. You have to go in and create a fake company. They don't prevent you from doing that, but it is annoying. And that is the only real way to force an update. And if there's a problem caused by updates, which sometimes happens, you're kind of just screwed because there's actually no way to roll back an update. So that's definitely an irritant. A cool thing, I definitely forgot to mention this, is actually really quite nice. You can configure it so you can just tap on the side of your headset and it will enable the pass-through. Now it's black and white, but it's actually kind of more clear than the one on the Index. And more than enough for you to orientate yourself or get yourself a drink. Pretty easy to do. That's a really nice feature because it's just very quick. Tap on, tap off. That is a really nice feature of the Quest 2 I really like and miss my other headsets. Lastly, I sort of mentioned that I'm actually on my second Quest 2. My original Quest 2, the charge port melted right off. Woof, that's rough. And Oculus support is unbelievably bad. They're so bad. The only thing they told me was that I should stop using it. Well, fucking duh. Fucking duh, asshole. The charge port melted. How the fuck was I gonna fucking use it? I couldn't charge it. The charge port melted. What the fuck is wrong with them? I swear to fucking God. It took them an entire month and a half to actually send me the shipping labels. That's repulsive. And you know what? I still haven't got it back. So who the fuck knows? So that is a serious negative with the Quest 2. If you are having problems with it, be prepared for a very fucking long wait and a lot of bullshit from the really unacceptably terrible support. Next is going to be a gooder. That's the Pimax 8KX. See you then.